see every day goes. Every time we've no control.
All right, gratitude, divines and divinettes. This is Bree India and my lovely guest.
I'm Chef Alex Perez.
And we are in season 2 of the I Am Who segment of 808 Tavern. The 808 Tavern, it goes wherever I go, and then the self journeys is always keeping the flow. So ultimately, we will get the self journeys of this particular creator here. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and just sit with me to be able to have this part of the segment.
It's been like a year we've been talking.
I know. I finally got this man here, y'all. Like, it's been really hard.
It's not my acidity or anything like that. Though. I'm just very, I guess, blessed to be busy. You know,
right.
Sometimes I catch myself not necessarily complaining like, damn, like I'm busy. I got all this stuff to do, but I remember it was a point in time where I'm just like twiddling my thumbs, wondering like, what I'm gonna do. You know, many years ago. Though.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm honored to have watched. Like it started with me just asking if I could have a session for my birthday, a dinner for my birthday, and then like overnight, I swear he just got booked because he opened up and it was crazy. And we're gonna get into PAPI Cuisine in a minute, but y'all know this is the I Am Who segment, so we start off knowing about the creator himself first. The co-creator of the creator of the divine of us all, but ultimately he plays a position in this world being a co-creator, and being a chef is a major art. It takes a lot to be able to master that particular art form. So we're going to tap into who you are first, though. Before we get to what you do, the I am who part is about making a statement about who you are, whether it be a word that you use when you're in a room to describe who you are. Whether it's I am the ambitious one in the room, the boss in the room, the whatever, the dictator, or just the planner or the behind the scenes, delegate, whatever it is, or whatever it is that describes you. I know like me, I like to say I'm resilient, I'm ambitious, things like that. I'm bodacious. Well, ultimately, there's quotes, there's mottos, and there's statements that I go by as well. So if you have one or both, a highlight word of who you are, and then like a thing that you say or you go by.
I'm persistent and consistent.
Okay. Look, that matched everything about the energy too.
Pretty much. I'm persistent and consistent. And I think I'm quite a few things. Sometimes I'll put it under a broad umbrella and say, like, I'm a creator because I love to create and love to work on things, make them better or, just create things from nothing, if you will. But I think in all that I am and all that I do over the years, I've seen that being persistent and consistent in anything that I do is one of the key aspects that has led to my success.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you believe that about yourself, but you just tied it all in for us. So do you go by any mantra or motto of your own?
I think me, I don't like to kind of tie myself down to any particular saying or thing, because I feel
belief,
like,
okay.
I mean, I do have beliefs, and one thing is I have a lot of faith in what I'm destined to do. Okay. And I know, through life we are presented with certain trials and sometimes tribulations that will kind of change the course of how we go through our destiny and our journey. So I've seen that I've had to pivot from quite a few things or ways of thinking to get the job done, essentially. So I guess I'm open to always learning something new, whether it's a belief or whether it's some type of structure to help me to get where I'm going. Okay. But I also try to keep a mindset where I'm just not staying stuck on doing things one particular way, because I feel like there's always a better way to do things. And no matter how much I know now, no matter how successful I am, I'm always learning and I'm always teachable,
Okay. That's a big thing, being teachable, because then that's how you are the way you are now, having been able to teach people what you have done. Yeah, so I'm ready to get to what you do. Yeah. But first, in the portion of your I Am Who, your influences throughout life, who were you before you got to where you are today? And I would like for you to highlight your most prominent influence as well as a personal influence, whether it be a celebrity for prominence and a personal family member, and then I'll ask my next question.
I think,
even if it's yourself, because sometimes that's people's main influence.
I grew up in East Baltimore, place that a lot of people call down the hill and like the Carolina Eagle Church Square area. And then I tell people we upgraded from there to the projects. We live in like the Claremont Freeway projects.
Okay.
Older guests, if they out there, they remember that because they knocked them down and rebuilt it since then. And I think really is my mom and my dad. I'm gonna have to say, because you know, my father. A lot of people don't know my father's story. You know, my father's from DR, and pretty much left DR to, you know, find a new life in America, essentially. And he went through quite a few things just to get over here, and you know, work his way up the East Coast. He met my mom and things like that. And just kind of knowing his journey and hearing about the things that he encountered when he was making his trip over here, you know, some crazy things, you know, like cutting in. He had the term, you know, he just got off the boat was like true back in like the 80s, the 70s and 80s though, because like he literally was got over here on a boat.
It was a real journey for this man.
You know, exporting boat from DR over to Puerto Rico, and a flight from Puerto Rico to some family that we already had in Florida, and you know, working his way up and just finding himself in the midst of all of this, you know, so many different things, milestones that you can think of when relocating to a whole other country, and learning a whole other language and stuff like that. And
kudos to the king. I appreciate you taking the time, because look what you brought to the area and out of Baltimore, the place that he found to be home, clearly.
Right. Yeah. Then, you know, meet my mom and, you know, my mother, you know, going through her things. You know, the thing is, no matter what we were going through, living in the projects, not having access to a lot of resources, knowledge, you know, financially and so many other things, there was always a sense of, I guess, faith that things would get better, and that there was no limitation on what I could, you know, eventually achieve one day. And I feel like my father and my mother, they always instilled that in me. So even though my mother always used to tell me that, you know, this is just your current circumstances, you know, things
get stuck in where you are.
Exactly. You know, don't be so bent out of shape on where you're currently at. You know, this is just a temporary thing. You know, there's better out there. And my father just had this mind where like nothing is impossible, and just having those two components instilled in me, I think that essentially gave me what I needed to embark on this journey that I'm currently embarking on right now, though, because I faced a lot of things that would have led me to quit or give up. But I just understood, and I've been getting to see how a lot of the things that I felt were happening to me were actually happening to set me up to go to the next level in this journey.
Nice. That is so powerful. And shout out to the Queen too, just like I honored the King for a moment, because they have, like I said, contributed to this creator being here with us.
Right.
And that was very powerful how you described them being major influences in your life. Like that like sums it up really about how things have come to be where they are today as far as who you are, by having those great dynamics as parents. When it comes to like a outside influence as far as your particular craft, which we'll get into the craft, but based on your craft, where did the influence come for you to get into that? Even if it's from your own personal interest of development that came and then you was in school for it, or, you know?
I would say that came from my dad as well, because, you know, like when culturally speaking, you know, I identify like Afro Latino, that's what I identify as, but like in like DR and other Spanish speaking countries and things like that, it's like when you born, you come out the womb with like a spatula and a knife in your hand. It was like
actually Dominican and
Haitian. So it's like, you know, like cooking is just like a part of your life. It's a part of what we do. Is just embedded in you. And I think my father, he started really as far back as I can remember. Like even when I was like living in the projects, I would be trying to cook something, 4 or 5, trying to mix Bisquick,
Automatic.
pop it in the oven
Anything.
with jelly and everything like that. That's all we had to, to eat at times though. So,
You can do what it do.
yeah. So I already was like, embarking on this whole cooking journey. And I think when I was around like 9 or 10, my father started showing me like some traditional like Dominican dishes and stuff like that. And because I like to eat, and I noticed that I had like a knack for cooking, so I would every now and then I would just kind of like practice, cooking and things like that. But that's where all that stuff came from. I feel like it was just in me.
It was embedded in you, and then
Yeah.
he made sure to continue to instill it in you.
Exactly.
Especially because as a young man, like, it's important for men as women to know how to cook too.
Exactly,
Like, I've been meeting a lot of young men who just are still kind of in the traditional mindset of like not understanding, okay, it's a benefit for the man to know how to cook just as much as the woman.
Absolutely.
Not just, want to find a woman that can cook because
Right,
you don't
right.
want to cook when you
Yeah, I used to laugh at that. I personally don't attach myself to like societal norms.
Okay.
In a sense though, like, and some things I do, but working on unlearning some things. But as far as the cooking thing, that was one of the societal norms that I never attached myself to though when it comes to cooking, because I actually enjoy it and I love eating. So I don't feel like it's a man or woman's job. It's
it's a human's job
it's
to
a
make sure you
human's
can eat. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And honestly, we've been having this running thing so far with season 2 with the creators I've been sitting with, where we talk about the 2 things they've been highlighting is to keep going. And also, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Right.
So everything that you were just explaining is like, things happen in life, but none of it was happening to you. It was happening for you, ultimately, as we can see,
Absolutely, because I went through some things embarking on this journey, and I was just like, yo, why me?
I feel you.
Why
You feel targeted,
me?
right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel that. Okay, so then now, I got a couple more questions that I want to ask, and then we're going to get straight into the meat of what do you do.
Okay.
So first, your motivation. So we got your influences down. When it comes to your motivation, I encourage a lot of personal within self journeys, especially personal, like self-care and self-love in your journey. So things you do, maybe whether it be a regimen you have on a day-to-day basis, and this is just for you because I know if you want to mention it, I definitely want to know like how you balance work life and family life. But when it comes to you and your individuality, how you keep yourself, motivated, but also keep yourself grounded and at peace within yourself with all the chaos that's going on outside of you. Because even though it may not be chaotic, it may be beautiful to see so much going on in your world. How do you keep yourself?
It definitely gets overwhelming. So some of the things that I do, obviously, meditation, and I do my best to do it. I'm not as consistent with meditating, but I think my motivation is my desire for peace and to be, just grounded within everything I do, because obviously there's a lot of moving pieces in my life, and that becomes overwhelming at times. So my motivation, the thing that motivates me, is my desire to have peace and just to be grounded and be able to enjoy the whole process. But to get to that, definitely meditating, taking breathers for myself, pouring back into myself, because there was a periods of time in my line of work where it was literally just pouring into the work, the needs of the work and everything that required. And I think I got to a point in time where I'm just like, damn, I'm not happy. I started trying to search for where I'm gonna point the finger at. Where I'm gonna point the finger at.
Didn't want to blame yourself or judge yourself for a moment.
And I started getting out there and like practicing self-care more and doing things that I essentially wasn't doing for myself.
Okay.
And then I realized, you're the problem.
You ignoring yourself.
You weren't taking care of yourself. You weren't doing, anything for yourself. I'm definitely a giver, so I'm a very giving person. And sometimes when you're like that, you realize that you're taking a lot.
You're pouring into so many things, so many other pots and so many other tables.
Spread
and
yourself thin.
And,
so I've definitely been on that journey for the last few years of pouring back into myself, and
that's cool.
some of the ways I do that, meditating, having hard work cut off times, and really just just doing things for myself. And sometimes I'll do just whatever I feel like doing, no matter who, likes it or not. It ain't nothing crazy.
Of course. But you got your thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have my thing. So.
Do you have your passion? Because you know how, like, now that your passion has technically become your purpose and you're in being a creator, what kind of, I guess, ways do you make sure to keep your passion being your craft that has now turned into such a thing that's going to keep growing? Because it's you get what I'm saying, like, about, like, you were in love with this before it became something that you gave. This is something you gave to us as a world, as the people who have, gravitated to what you have. We have this now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So how do you, I know it's a lot to take in, because I know, first of all, it's like, how does it feel to be, like, to know that you're a creator, which is an uplifting feeling. But at the same time, how do you keep that passion? Like, is there a piece of it you have just for you, or, like, how did you let it go to be exposed to the world now that it's no longer just your individual thing?
I think that there's a level of, I love the love and support that I get for what I do, but there's also a level that I have to be proud of myself with, no matter who's proud of me or who's not. So to, I guess, maintain that passion, I try to tie other things that I'm passionate about with this main thing. A lot of people know me from this thing that we're about to get into, but film and music is another passion that I have. So
you tap into your other personal interests.
I tap into those other interests and try to uplift that main thing, and so they can just come like full circle, essentially.
And they tie in because it's all forms of art.
Yeah, definitely all forms of art. But I think there were points at times where I kind of like, I don't want to say I fell off, but I kind of like took a step back from presenting my art, because I got so consumed with other duties that I had with this thing blowing up, so I didn't have the time to really sit down and cook as much or do X, Y, Z, and I kind of like dive more into business managing aspects, because that's
and
also
the literacy of it.
And that's also a passion of mine as well. But I'm a believer that you have to have a nice balance, because the art of it all is what the ultimate passion for me is, and just the art of creating though. Right now I'm tapping into a lot of film work, and I'm trying to tie the music, the food, and everything together. And the level of work involved in that, sometimes I'm shooting for 10 to 15 hours just to get like a 90-second or
full segment of
production. And but I enjoy that whole process though. So enjoying the process before I actually present it, and then the people validate it in a sense,
right.
Still being content and loving what I do regardless of who validates it or not.
Cool. Self-validation, you spoke about that, and you also mentioned for the second time the process. You enjoy the process a lot. And that's really important too, because a lot of people get caught up on what progress they're making, or they get caught up on the wrong elements of the process instead of embracing the process entirely.
Or, trying to rush to get to the end goal. Yeah.
Right. And then once they get there, it's like,
yeah.
Wait, I didn't really see what happened,
Exactly.
So enjoying the process must be a beautiful thing, because you're actually consciously aware right now while it's happening right in front of you. I need to know a challenge to your extent of a story that you would be willing to share with the audience about maybe an obstacle or a challenge, whether it be with your craft or your personal life, and how you overcame that, just to give a uplifting testimonial about your process as a creator and entrepreneur, managing so many things and then coming to this place in your life.
I've gone through so many challenges that a lot of people really don't know of. Small ones, large ones. When I first started the company, initially when I first started the company, I started it because one, I was trying to find something to do. In an aspect of like a career that I would be proud of, because I've worked every job you can possibly think of, like from carpet cleaning to credit card collections.
Wow.
I've done
you
it.
tapped in.
Yeah, I've done every form of work you can think of, but I've never done something for a living that I was proud of and I actually had a passion for doing. And when I thought about, that line of work, I never thought about it from an ownership perspective. So I always strayed away from it though, because I always looked at it as I was going to be working for someone else, which is not a bad thing at all. But
you had your personal goal.
Yeah, I think at that point in time I was more so passionate about owning my own company.
Okay.
And when I started the company, a lot of people, I think Instagram just started to pop off around that time, and people, they would see me posting, food and stuff like that. It's like, you know what, you should start selling the food and everything. And I started getting all these this engagement and reactions from the food I was posting. So I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and do it. So I went ahead and formed the company, thought about the name and marketing perspectives and things like that. I ended up launching, and I had like one customer that day that I launched, and it was like, I don't want to say to make matters worse, but to make matters worse, it was somebody that I'd known for like 20 years. So it's like, was this really a customer, or were they just throwing me a bone?
I feel that. Okay.
But the thing is, like I said earlier, I couldn't stay stuck and just keep that same business model. I knew that I had a product that people wanted. The issue was how they were getting the product.
The market of it, how you market it. Okay.
And I had to like pivot, and I think I took a break for like a few months, and I went ahead and got a part-time job, and I started pouring back into the business. What actually changed was, instead of having people pick up food from me, I decided to deliver it. And I just opened up like the radius of delivery to like, you know what? I'm gonna do this from Hunt Valley to DC. I don't care.
Did you make it kind of like mobile?
Yeah, I just went into that. This is right before like Uber Eats popped off and everything like that. And I just opened up that radius, because typically for delivery, it was like delivery companies, they would typically do like 2 to like 5 mile radius tops. Okay. But I opened it like, listen, we gonna come down there PA.
You put a real
to DC. Like if you want the food, I'm going to get it to you, and I'm try to make sure it's warm as possible, or whatever the case is. And that has kind of changed things. So I had to pivot to open up those floodgates, and when I did that, that definitely changed the trajectory of everything that I was doing at that point, though. So now I had real customers.
Because you took that risk, though. You took that risk, and you stepped out, on your faith, and just said, I'm gonna go harder.
Yeah,
that's what you did. You went harder, really.
I think some people, they would have quit. And there's other things like,
You didn't, because it was for you. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like when it's for you, it's like you'll be guided, and you'll be put in the position to do a little bit of work, or the work needed to get exactly where you are. Right. That's what I see from a customer's point of view to your process. Because that's why I'm tapping into what you're telling us you have gone through. But from the outside looking in, it was just cool to see, like. Yeah. But one day you was just like saying what you did. Next day you was actively into that all the way, and absolutely. Whatever contributions and whoever contributed, shouts out to them too, because all of that played a part in the progress you made.
Yeah, definitely did. And also, with obviously like feedback through that whole process. The thing is, even in the current time, we go through some things that I know people probably like, how did y'all get through that? We built a foundation that allow us to, I guess, deal with things in a timely manner, and to just process through things. The more you go through things, the more you learn, and you learn how to not just adapt, but to put preventative measures in place. So you're not going through the same thing over and over and over.
So you found the cycle, and then you broke the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Though, because I don't like to go keep going through something. It's like, the lesson ain't gonna be learned until you do something that promotes like some type of action that, okay, you got it now. So this is what you need to do to prevent this from happening. But I've had everything from scorching the sauce after I got all these orders in when I was first delivering. I had this salmon Alfredo I was doing. And the stove I was working on was one of those old electric stoves with a spiral grates on it.
Oh, the classic stove.
Yeah, and essentially the grate would get disconnected every now and then. I thought it was off, but it was on like a super high heat.
Oh gosh.
And like
ruined the whole
a
mixture.
big pot, you know, that I had that I'm about to plate up and everything and box up, and it just scores the whole sauce, and I'm like, damn, like I had to like literally borrow money to remake everything, and I had to end up canceling all the orders that I had like that day, and like,
I know your chest was hurting.
you know, so what these are like in, you know, in
The beginning stages.
the beginning stages,
Okay.
and around that time too, like I'll take it to the extreme. You know, when you're running a business, and I didn't have any loans. You know, I took, you know, the last $80 that I had, and I started this company.
Okay.
And you know, you gotta rob Peter to pay Paul.
I
And,
feel you.
and,
You made
you
a lot
know,
of compromising and took a lot of risks and did a lot of compromising.
Exactly. And sometimes it's like once I developed that whole delivery model, you know, having a car to rent was more important than keeping up with the rent of the apartment that I had at that point in time. And I remember a scenario, and I tell people about this a lot, especially for anybody out there that's like really struggling to get that business off the ground, like to like kind of motivate them and keep pushing it. I remember sheriffs coming to the door, like, yep, you know, we got, you know, it's eviction.
Right.
And I'm in the middle of plating food to deliver it. And they're literally like holding the door for me, you know, open as I'm, you know, boxing the remaining food up. I had to actually, I had to stop boxing the food up and take the pots with the food that was still cooking, remove them from the heat, put it into the car, and I went, my wife, but girlfriend at the time, I went to,
That's out to the queen.
yeah, I had to take the food to her mother's house to finish cooking and boxing everything up.
Wow.
So I could have sat there and cried and, you know, just think like, God, what I'm going to do right then and there. I mean, I knew what was up.
Exactly, but you was like, dang.
Yeah, you know, so I could have just sat right there.
Spatula in hand. Like,
yeah, like what I'm going to do. But I'm like, yo, this a Friday. Yeah, this is, you know, this is a bad, you know, it's an unfavorable situation. I can stop right here and just give this up. But man, I still got $1,000 to make today, so let me pack these things up. And the crazy things, like sheriffs, they was like, man, like I really hope whatever you doing like works out, because you seem so dedicated and everything. Like they was like, well, what do you want us to do with the furniture? I'm like, oh, rent a center, they'll be able to get it through the deuces, and got to work, and I still delivered that day, you know, and you know made my money, and nothing stopped me. So it don't matter what was going on, you know, even when it got to like the slow seasons where it's around like holiday season, like at the end of the year, and people now ordering dinners, you know. I had to figure out what to do then. Like, you know what? Everybody asked me, do you do catering? Next year, I'm gonna be doing catering now. So my business don't slow down. So
something
it was always pivoting.
Yeah,
like always pivoting and making sure that I'm tapping into, you know, that demographic and their needs though, you know. So it's definitely a lot.
Major. Yes, that was a beautiful testimony though, because I know now, looking back on that kind of thing, it's like you didn't give up. Like back to our season 2 motto, keep going. Like you didn't give up at all, and you kept going. And shouts out to, like I said, the queen, the people who poured into those times where you felt you almost fell off, but you had that support to, you know, go to her mom's house and still get them orders done and still get it out to your clients. So
that's one thing I will say. Like my family and friends, they always didn't understand it like right off the bat.
But they supported it regardless.
Yeah, but they just supported like, look, this is what you doing? Like I had a friend.
Now they see what you were trying to do.
Yeah, like cause I had a friend and I was telling like,
see one day.
Yeah, I had a friend.
Stay solid.
I was telling him like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, start doing this cooking thing. I was explaining this like elaborate plan, things like that. But when he actually seen what I was doing, he's like, bro, I didn't know this is the type of cooking that you're talking about. Like, I'm just thinking, like, you talking about something totally different. So, you know, there were times where people, they didn't understand, but they either supported up front or supported from a distance, you know, whatever the case was, you know, I greatly appreciate it, you know. I remember I used to cook out of my grandmother's kitchen. She used to fuss at me, like saying like, I don't want you running this business out of my house, and da 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 da. And now it's like the things that I'm able to do for her. Like I brought her on the we did this show with Al Roker when he came to the one of my homes, and we cooked and everything like that.
Wow.
So this is a guy that I used to watch like growing up
up,
on TV,
yeah.
and she watched him as well. But to go from cooking in her kitchen and her fussing at me
Right.
to standing side by side, it's just like she just
She can't say
amazed,
nothing but be happy and proud.
very
Yeah, like-
very proud. But I think
breaking some generational cycles and everything with that energy. So.
yeah, absolutely. So a lot of great things. Some unfavorable things I must say, but I feel like it was all like a setup for me to go further into the next level.
And that just like took us diving straight into the I am who are you, what do you do? Because that story right there lets us know what type of a creator you are as a person. You are very resilient. Like I throw that word out a lot, but you're very resilient. Anytime you just did not stop, no matter who was saying what type of shade you was being thrown, police coming, like that was a crazy story, y'all. And like I appreciate you sharing that, because that's a long walk to travel through in your timeline to remember. But ultimately now you can vacation and celebrate, and you can do more celebrating probably now.
Absolutely.
Since you have more time to do so. So okay, so the I am who are you, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
First tell us your creator position. And then the elements around it, as far as other art or creative positions that you have along with it, as far as like helping it, or even if it's outside of it. I know earlier you mentioned some hobbies you like to do other than.
Yeah, Alex Perez. I'm owner of PAPI Cuisine. I say PAPI Cuisine because it's comprised of restaurants, private events. Also, we're working on cookware and apparel. And I'm working on bringing a PAPI Cuisine food line to retail stores and to wholesale consumers as well.
And that name was derived from?
PAPI Cuisine?
Mm-hmm.
So I created PAPI Cuisine, I would say back like in 2013, 2014. And I knew I was going to cook. I wanted to create a name that signified me being in my own lane, because I would watch chefs, and everybody had their own thing or twist on how they present
their signature
craft and their signature. So I wanted something to signify that this was a cuisine or a palette that I created. This is my own thing, because I figured, okay, if I'm going to get into the food business, as long as I have a product that essentially, how can I put it? As long as I have a product where I'm not necessarily mimicking like things that everyone else is doing, and I have like a following in that specific like lane, I know that I could make it. The only thing I needed to do is have a product that people are going to gravitate towards. And since I am a creator, I like to do things a bit differently. So I started to see like what was already out there, and I started to kind of put my own twist on things, and that's kind of like how I created this fusion style of cuisine before I even understood like what the whole fusion, concept was. So I started to take flavors that, I learned cooking from my dad, stuff like that back in DR and things like that, which has any Caribbean, whether it's Spanish speaking or French speaking or what have you, has a lot of African influence, but it has, has a lot of different influences, throughout the world, into this
But the foundation is mostly what's in these days.
Yeah, but that's, the foundations, because like it's things that I see people cooking out, like in friends I have from Africa, like things that they cook, and friends from Jamaica and friends from here. And it's like, we all essentially cook the same way,
All those cultures,
So I think I just wanted a cuisine of my own, and that's kind of like where that PAPI Cuisine is pretty much, it's a bunch of cuisines just from my perspective, essentially. And
that you created and put together.
PAPI Cuisine. I'm gonna run with that, and I would laugh when I would say the name, because you're kind of bashful and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah. What's your favorite Dominican dish too, by the way? Growing up, anyway. Not the one you created, because I know you.
Growing up, yeah. I would say it's like a yellow rice and beans, and like it's like a stewed chicken though, so you like take a chicken, braise it, and you put like good amount of water, seasoning, and you just kind of let it slow cook until the water evaporates all the way down, and then creates like this sauce, at the bottom. But what I would see is it wasn't really more so like the exact dishes, but it was like the style of cooking my father, was doing. Like those flavors more so. And like you can take anything essentially and make it like a Dominican dish.
My favorite is mofongo. I like because I'm big on mofongo.
I know. I feel like everybody say that, but like that.
Everybody like mofongo. I've met people who hate it.
Like I mean, well, when you talk about like a Dominican dish though, but it's like my father, he could, take like we cook we used to fish up in New York at Battery Park. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like
what part of New York is it in?
That's like I believe that's like Manhattan, but it's kind of like where you see like the Statue of Liberty in the water, and like you see like the cruise ships and things like that. But it'd be like a bunch of people out there fishing, but we would catch like these big like striped bass, like they were like 30 pound, 40 pound.
Go home and cook that.
Yeah. So you'll take one of those fish and put the seasonings that we typically use and things like that. Carrots and this, that, there, and other. It's a Dominican
delicious,
dish right now. So
all right, nobody get hungry. That's not
that. And if people always ask me like, "What's your favorite thing to cook?" I feel like anything that I haven't cooked before, because anything that fun. So anytime I have the chance to create or learn something new, I would have to say that's my favorite thing to cook though, because I'm always learning, always. I think a lot of people, they see what I do with PAPI Cuisine and they think like, okay, this is just his cooking style, but my cooking like range actually spreads further than this. Is PAPI Cuisine is a concept, and I have other concepts that I created in the food space, but this concept has resonated well with like many people, but I also like people to understand that that my range goes beyond that, and I'm just a creator in general. So you might see this and expect this from PAPI Cuisine, but there's a whole another form of cooking that that I get into in my personal time, and you might see a concept come about.
It kind of falls into what I was saying earlier about like that thing that you have that's still to yourself right now that people don't know about. And I was just going to ask you next to tips or tools you would give to the next generation, peer, or anything. And if you have any foundations or programs where you do any type of teaching right now, or not yet, or anything coming that you want to share. Because I know like some stuff is surprise element, so you just would have to follow to understand where he's going with things. However, what do you have currently, foundations, programs, people you partner with, or anything that people can tap into, and how can they reach this if you have a website or anything?
So there's this year in particular, there's quite a few projects that I'm working on.
Okay.
Still developmental stage, but as far as advice and things like that, currently what I do my best to meet with other business owners like myself, and we share I guess information on the business and things like that, because I feel like iron sharpens iron at the end of the day. There's a lot of things that I have people who've been in the business longer than me, but we're pretty successful in what we do. So it's certain things that they can teach us about as far as the longevity aspect, and we teach them things about this whole new age of this form of art that we're doing. So I feel like we all can learn from each other. I have a project right now that I'm working on with one of my partners where we took over like a school. It was a culinary school that they lost their accreditation and they shut down. So we went ahead and took over the school. So now,
congratulations, that's big.
That's big. So we have like a kitchen space that we're going to be leasing out to other up and coming food businesses, and also giving them pretty much creating like business workshops to keep them up on their game, to essentially give them the knowledge that they need to be successful while still providing a space. Because when I first started doing what I'm doing, there wasn't many spaces that you can like run a commercial kitchen and get business knowledge and coaching and things like that.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, so that's another thing. One of the things that we are working on now. Should be launching, this spring actually. And with that partnership, we do have like nonprofit nonprofit organization with that as well. Where we pretty much do give backs throughout the year for like back to school, and different things though, so it's definitely multi-layered, from the giving back to the kids and giving them, knowledge, that they need if they want to, partake in some of these fields.
That's good.
Also, young adults as well.
I was going to say,
intern opportunities that we're working on
Nice.
as well, and all the way to the adults, giving them knowledge and support that they need, whether they're already in business or trying to get into business as well though. So it's a multi-layered thing when it comes to age, as far as the outreach that we're doing.
Okay.
And it's just not just food, it's other things, it's tech, engineering.
It's like a trade optional school.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So it's not like we just, we're not like relaunching the school and like taking classes and things like that, but we just have our own, programs and things that we're offering in the midst of offering rental space to businesses and things like that are trying to grow their business. And, jumping into film is another one of my passions, and that's something that I've been taking a nosedive into.
And what part you play in that arena?
Directing and writing.
Okay.
So you'll begin to see a lot of the videos that I'm putting out now is more so I'm taking part in directing and writing the concepts for those videos.
That's exciting.
I'm kind of just using food as a segue into my film debut and breakout, essentially.
So you're adding the other things that your artistic interest to your main.
Yeah,
got it.
Exactly though. So I'm kind of like using the platform that I've built with food to step into like the film and also music, because that's another passion of mine as well though. So
that's your top three, like, so that's like your
film, food, and music. So that's you'll begin to see as I dive deep into the film world, you start seeing less about the food and more, intricate plots and things like that.
But the food will still be
food will still be
moving.
actively moving. So, food will always be on point in those, in that production. But,
right.
But yeah, so that's some of the things that that I'm personally getting into.
Something that people can apply for, or is it a private invitational type of thing?
So right now I'm getting the website situated, and I'm going to be making an announcement pretty soon.
Got it.
We're just finalizing some permits and licensing, all these things like that.
Okay.
And just making sure that because the main thing there is the kitchen.
Right.
It is a kitchen space, but since it was a school, they have libraries, they have admin office,
right.
They have all these different things, that we have use for. So that's where we'll be holding these classes and workshops and things like that at. So we're just more so tying all those things together so we can make like a formal announcement on how to, whether you're trying to look for a space to rent out, whether you're trying to attend one of the workshops, or whether you want to get into an internship. So all those things will be categorized under the website.
Nice.
It's just a lot of the stuff that I do, like I don't speak about it like publicly until like, all right, yeah, cool, yeah, we got this now, or what have you.
By the time this come out, it'll already be
moving.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll already be in motion though. But that's just kind of like how I move. Like I got other restaurant concepts that I'm working on right now, but I'm not just gonna. I know that those things take time, and once I tell my audience that I'm doing something, they will every single day.
Yeah, you better tell them when you're ready.
Like just like with one of our other locations that will open up in Owens Mills, it's like, when's Owens Mills location open? When's Owens Mills location open?
Yes, I'm looking for the DC. Remember I was asking you when you were in DC.
I'm like, listen, it's coming. Like, but
look, y'all, we gotta start stressing them out. All right.
When I say something is like on its way, it could be 6 months to 5 years. You just never, whatever time it takes. So that's another one of the things I've been working on. Just like, let me take the time that it's going to take to complete whatever I'm doing, and not, feel flustered or feel like I got to rush.
And overwhelmed.
Yeah, so I just want to take the appropriate time that it take for all these projects. And school project is a big project because there's many different things going on there, but I feel like it's definitely going to be very beneficial for the community. Just everything that we have, the knowledge that we have, that we can pour into other people.
I was going to ask you, what does the industry like for chefs? But it sounds like y'all are more, like you have like a conglomerate or camaraderie, it seems like, or at least with some of them.
Speak on that. We there's also a group that we recently structured with DMV chefs and restaurant owners, and quite a few people, in those groups that I've looked up to as I was, on my journey as a chef myself. And I was, sitting side by side in the position that I am, and within that group to offer, whatever knowledge that I've learned over the years, and to, pretty much bounce off of each other. And
good. So you pour into each other. There's a form of cohesiveness. That's what I'm looking for.
You'll see some things come about from that group as well. And we made some posts about it because a lot of people think like, that we can't come together like that, and just have each other's back, and just make sure that everyone is sharp and getting, everything and more that they want out of this industry, and actually other industries as well. Because I think what people fail to realize in the food industry is multi-layered. You'll have a restaurant concept, but then you have the real estate side of it, and then, just in the food industry alone, there's so many different streams of revenue that you can tap into, and I feel like a lot of that isn't being talked about. People's like, I just need a restaurant, let me already rent the space, and yada. But it's a lot of money and knowledge that we're leaving on the table.
In the whole industry.
Yeah, in the whole industry, as well. You don't just have to open a restaurant. You can go to the route of putting food products out. You can put apparel out. You could be the smallwares and paperware supplier of restaurant chains. They need cleaning supplies, they need disposables, they need, all these different things. So there's so many different
those hygiene
angles.
companies, cleaning, housekeeping, environmental services.
Then there's also the wealth aspect, which I like. Well, the real estate, which I like to call the wealth aspect, because that's a big part that we're leaving. As well, though.
Legacy. Yeah.
Because the thing is, a lot is once you start to tap in and read and understand those leases and things like that, you start to realize like this is like where the foundation, is, and all these things. But we talk about a lot. We don't just talk about just food in these groups. Though.
Okay, so that's gonna be a good, something good to try to get into, and I like that aspect of connecting and networking with like minds and people who are trying to elevate their thinking. Because that's a big deal, especially starting off when you're by yourself, and then you find out, there's people like me, or people that think like me, or do what I do on a grander scale, So that'll be cool. And even if you have like a podcast or anything, people can tap into, or like if you just on your page randomly throw out tips or something, can you let them know too, like your socials? And how to get in contact with you or your assistant to book you for things like this, if you do this on a regular.
Got you. So Instagram is Chef PAPI, so that's ELCHEFE PAPI. Or if you can follow the restaurant page, which is PAPI Cuisine. That's PAPICUISINE.
Okay. And is there a link for a website or anything?
Yeah, so if you go to papicuisine.com, you can reach it right directly from the page. As I said, since we have quite a few projects and we're starting to structure how they are presented publicly, there's going to be like a lot of information that I'll be tossing up on my personal page, Chef PAPI, where I'll kind of start directing like where to go to, from that. Okay. So you'll from the source, you'll be able to see exactly how to get in contact with specific people, dates and everything. So make sure y'all follow the creator directly, so that you can keep up with all of his creations and the things that he's planning in the future. Try not to harass him too much about when he gonna put it out or when he gonna open it. Let's let him take his time with building these very intricate but beautiful crafts that he's been putting together. And okay, so before we wrap into the Reverse the Host, you gave us a big tidbit on a program that you have, right? So is there anything else that you haven't mentioned that we don't know about? Are there any reoccurring, like annual events that you do at PAPI Cuisine or at, any other location? But right now, we want to know a lot more about whatever it is that you can tell us about what PAPI Cuisine has cooking up for it. And current locations, please, so that we know where it is already. Got you. So currently, an aspect of PAPI Cuisine, we're working on a Darwin's Mills location, which will be like our largest location. We have the Fed Hill location, which is located at 2 East Wells Street. That's Baltimore, Maryland, 21230.
That's a hot location to be
Yeah,
right there.
that's definitely hot. You know, people, they were asking us, are y'all sure y'all want it? Because we were on Fleet Street,
Okay.
Fleet in Washington, and Fells Point at first, and it was a real small location. They asked us, like, you sure you want to move over here? Are your customers, are they gonna come all the way over here?
You like, trust me, I don't
I'm
know.
like, listen, like, sometimes it's like, I've seen, we have so many people that come from out of town, all over the United States, like, and sometimes out the country as well, and they'll plan their traveling around coming to the restaurant. So I tell people all the time, we're a destination location. It doesn't really matter where we go. I feel like as long as the product is what it is, and you know, we do our marketing in-house and things like that.
Okay.
So you know, we do our best to make sure we reach in our customers no matter where they might be. We have the PAPI Cuisine catering. So when we started opening the restaurant, I had to shut down the catering and event side because it was just, we were super busy. And this was even in the midst of the pandemic. But now,
Yeah, hectic inside of the facility.
I'm relaunching our event side. So the events side of PAPI Cuisine is comprised of catering. This is what we cater, you know, clients' events.
Okay.
We also are going to be hosting our own private ticketed events where we're doing like a 4 to 6 course meal with wine pairings and things like that.
Okay.
And we're also going to relaunch the private dining. So that all those things are under the event side.
Okay.
And I think I just told you about the food products that I'm currently working on getting on shelves this year as well. They'll see, you know, your aiolis, your warhead sauce, seasoning, dry rubs, and breadings, and you know, things like that. Some faves, you know. So you may want to go home and cook a crab cake from PAPI Cuisine, you know. You'll buy the sauce.
You get that taste, you gotta go buy that.
Exactly, you know, so things like that, you know. Just coming out with some of the, because a lot of these recipes are things that I just honed in on and just improved over the years and just kept tweaking until it got to a space where we can reach a broader, you know, audience. So we have like some main items that are customer faves, and I kind of want to bring the components of those products to shelves, like like a jerk rub if you want to, you know, make your lamb chops or what have you. And, you know, I would say between like 10 to 15 products that I'm working on right now, bringing to shelves.
Okay.
At first I was trying to mix it up myself and sneezing and everything, trying to package the season, but we're well beyond that. So, you know, I'm working with a few manufacturing companies to bring those things to shelves.
Great. And you definitely work on a level where you can tell throughout your growth in your craft, you've grown a lot in your business etiquette and your literacy with that part of it. So that's going to be something that you have to definitely tap into his programs to learn too, I would think, you know.
Yeah. I definitely feel like the everything all the knowledge that I've gained over the years is definitely useful. It's so many people can benefit off of the things that I've seen and things that I've learned through the years, though. So I'm working on being able to present that, not just in like the workshops and things like that, but more so from the horse's mouth. You know, how I can do that. I don't want to say podcasts and things like that. I don't know what form I'm going to do it in. Yeah, you don't know yet.
I just threw that out there because I was like, look, just in case you need this knowledge. So whatever you can do, whether it be a movie or whatever, you know.
I do want to, you know, I'm still trying to decide which way I want to do it because I like to get creative in my approach. So that's just the only thing I haven't decided. Like, do I want to do a podcast? Do I want to? Because I will be doing a movie eventually about my life. Because there's a lot of things that obviously would take us days to talk about.
Actually get into it.
I guess knowledge based. I will.
And you doing film, so
yeah. So I'm doing film. Books will definitely come about as well, though.
Okay.
Some hard copies and things like that. And this is more so just kind of, you know, obviously recipe, kind of like recipe books, you know, some books detailing like my life and what my experiences and things like that in the industry, you know, so those, you know.
Something to look forward to.
It's a lot, so like.
You gave us a lot today, though, you know, like you gave us a lot of information about PAPI Cuisine, but also about who you are specifically. We know like a part of who you are, and then, you know, we identify with who you are as well. So, okay, now, before we get to reverse the host, my last question for you is, like, when it comes to your personal life, right, and how you manage everything you have going on and then balance and still, because at the end of the day, I'm sure your family has patience. They know now what you're doing. So at the end of the day, they're not trying to get in the way. But I know you like to have your time with your family and things like that. So how do you manage and balance work life with your personal life?
So the way I manage that is I'm a firm believer that you cannot build an empire by yourself. So I look at bringing people, who are open to learning, people who are skilled, bringing them up and pretty much passing and spreading tasks out. Because I think for a long time,
challenge them to the.
Yeah, I was trying to do a lot of things on my own,
Okay.
And I think, like it's impossible for me to be cooking on the line, then be dealing with the business outside of the restaurant, and then everything that I keep up with. So for the last few years, I've been structuring my life in a way where I can pass off tasks and be more so in a position to delegate, as a leader, as a visionary. So I positioned myself to step off of the line years ago. So I don't cook within my restaurants.
Okay.
I brought other people up under me and trained them so they could take over positions, and also instill in them that this isn't your final stop. You don't just have to be a cook or personal assistant or corporate chef or what have you for the next however many years. Unless you want to do that, I provide my team opportunities to advance, to gain more knowledge, to go, further. I don't want people
expand themselves and being well-rounded.
Exactly, because
I
know what it was like when I worked for others, and you didn't really have bosses like me offering those type of opportunities.
Right.
And I feel like having that type of culture, you will definitely retain people longer, and you'll get a lot out of those business relationships, with the people that you're bringing up, because you're not going to, stunt their growth and, and things like that. But that has been a big key, as well as just more so planning,
Okay.
being a little bit more stern and intentional on my schedules and when I'm available and things like that.
Okay.
And, like I told you, having those hard cut off work times, because my family has definitely sacrificed a lot from not seeing me often, because I'm always on the go, always handling some type of business, always on a phone call, always doing something. And
so you delegate time that's specifically for them.
Exactly, though, and that's something that I constantly work on, because business is always business, and
even after business hours in the position you in, you still gotta.
It's always something, but that's something that I work on daily, and just being intentional and that balance.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much for you sharing that. I'm working on learning how to manage my time better. So I like to ask questions like that and tap into how somebody who already juggles a lot. How do you do that? And as a woman, I want to have a family someday, but I'll be like, if I get more into just being tied up into what I'm doing with my own personal life, I don't know how I'm gonna take time to date or anything.
It was a point in time where I was like, you know what, I want to own my own company, so I'm gonna do this on this person's time, and yada yada yada. And then I get out here and I got all these tasks, and I'm like, you know what? I see why businesses structure things a particular way. There always have to be a time, so you have that work-life balance. Because I thought, you know what, being able to wake up and if I, feel like drinking a beer or feel like going here, going shopping, but there's still work to do at the end of the day. There's still a need to prioritize. And study up on the people who are, making billions and have companies that are evaluated at trillions, and how their schedules are throughout the day. It's very structured. And I was kind of like iffy and hesitant to create a schedule for myself that's that structured.
Okay.
Because I'm a spontaneous person.
You like the flexibility of your freedom,
Exactly. So I'm like, but at the level that I'm operating right now and what I'm currently embarking on, I don't think is much for the next 5 to 10 years for me to get very intentional about my schedule and my time. So once I'm ready to say, all right, cool, I'm gonna retire and do whatever I feel like it. Feel like all those things are already in place, and those ships don't stop sailing, or whatever the case is. The engines don't stop. Everything is still in rotation, and I can chill and relax and they get to a point like, you know what, I'm bored. Let me go do some work.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
you got to move a rotation now with everything. Now we about to get into reverse the host.
Okay.
So this is where I take my host hat off and I give you the seat to be able to question me. 1 to 3 questions
Okay.
of your own. You know, it can be 1 hot question or 3, you know, random questions. It doesn't have to be about the concept of I am who. It can be whatever you want to question me with.
Okay.
My perspective of something or something about me that you just want to ask.
So, what is your main passion?
My primary passion is writing.
Okay.
Thoughtful writing. I like to just be in my thoughts, but then not allow them to overcome my actual life. I just apply them to my writing.
Okay. So, what are your long-term goals in regards to writing?
Long-term goals, I'm never going to stop, so that's the first thing.
Okay.
But ultimately, the personal way I use writing is I journal. I also like to do poetry, so long-term I want to turn my poems into, I want to do like a few poetry books.
Okay.
And I want to start doing more writing for other people. I got one person that I started off with. He gave me the opportunity to write about his life. That's going to be something that I want to do, is see myself writing more for people, turning the videos into a book, into a conglomerate of both, because you don't know where technology going.
Yeah,
In a minute, book's going to be moving. Okay, that is what movies are pretty much, right?
Exactly.
But I want to find myself moving more into that seat, the director's seat, and, you know, being able to publish more of the stuff I just keep in my own personal library.
Yeah.
I've been really close to my writing to the point where I barely don't want to share it. Like, I barely want to share it.
Yeah, I understand.
But that's to answer your question, is that's where I want to see it grow into different areas.
Okay. And what is your favorite food to eat?
You know, I ain't gonna lie, steak used to be my thing. Like, any type of good made steak, because, you know, people don't know how I make steak. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
people don't really know what they're doing. But I love steak, lamb, and as far as like a side, but technically my main thing now is seafood. Like, I love me some salmon. But yeah, as far as sides, I want to say like, I'm a sweet potato person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's all good to know.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking me those questions. This is the conclusion of our episode for today. I feel like it's so much more I want to ask you.
Yeah,
and,
I know, yeah.
You know, but I definitely, you know, we have a time hack, and I, you know, respect the time of the creators that come out to me and take this time. So hopefully I can have you in another season, you know, a couple of years when we are, you know, recycling and doing our Legacy Returns episode. But right now, it's just about the I am who, and like I said, no one is seeing you grow to this point.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more. So I appreciate you coming again, and thank you to your family for letting me have him for the time, and thank you to you for making the time to come out here. Is there any last word or a last tip or statement that you want to give to the crowd before we wrap up today?
I would say to be consistent in being you. You know, I think a lot of times we try to be, you know, or become an image of what we feel people will find acceptable. And I think sometimes people, you know, when we do that, we wake up years from now wishing that we could have just be ourselves and kind of went after, you know, our heart. I think in the immediate time, you know, when we're attached to certain things, we feel like doing so is going to disrupt, you know, different things in our lives.
Right.
But, you know, at some point in time, you know, it's going to come full circle, you know, and keep presenting itself, you know, to you. So that's something that I personally have worked on, and is being me, you know, loving what I love, and just kind of like, you know, diving deeper into who I am, you know, aside from, you know, how people view me.
Okay.
You know, so, you know, be consistent in doing that, and trust me, you'll find a lot of treasures in that.
That is a good word. Take that with you. And I appreciate you all for watching and tuning into this particular episode. This is Bree India and
Chef Alex Perez.
I appreciate you so much. And G-Sub, Unity, Peace, Love, and Truth. All love.
That's right.
Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do.
Yeah, and that's
Try
the
the
piece.
Yes, yes. Crab cake egg roll.
Here we go.
Wow. Chef Alex, you have done Baltimore proud.
Thank you.
Our time here in Baltimore is coming to an end. We tried the traditional crab cake, tasted a modern spin with crab cake egg rolls, and even went straight to the source on the Chesapeake Bay. At the center of it all, one thing still ringing true: food tastes better when you eat it with family.
If the ground is black and yellow, it's the same way you showed me.